All right, we are back with the next episode of the Multifamily Investing Podcast with me, Charles Dobbins, the multifamily attorney, and I have someone from the dark side here today. I have Michael Bull of Bull Realty. Now, folks, you know how I talked about different types of brokerage houses, the ones that fly below the radar. Michael's one of them. I know I'm not disparaging him in any way. I'm just talking about if you are looking for property in the Atlanta area, you got to find a guy like Michael because he has the boots on the ground. He knows what's going on. And Michael, here's my first question to you: LoopNet. Do you use it? How do you use it? I mean, do you avoid it as best you can? What's the inside track with you putting deals on LoopNet?
Well, you know what, Charles, I appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah.
I tell you, as a broker, we like LoopNet for some things, and for some things we avoid it. Like I'm going to be bringing a $70 million multifamily property to market. The owner doesn't want it on any systems anywhere.
Yeah.
So it definitely can't be on LoopNet. And then we've sold some pretty large, nice hotels. We've had issues putting them on LoopNet. People kind of walk into the property and all of a sudden the front desk knows it's for sale. So there's a lot of the larger properties that we just can't use it. Now, having said that, a lot of the smaller properties or user properties or land or something like that, if we have the exclusive assignment and our job is to maximize the value of the property, then we're going to create more demand by putting it in. And sometimes we'll use up to 200 websites. Sometimes we use up to 17 marketing systems.
Do you really? That many, huh?
Yep, depending on the property.
Okay.
And so, if it's something like that where it doesn't hurt the property or the owner in any way to know it's available. If you think about the value of everything is impacted by the law of supply and demand, right? So if you've got a property where you can have more demand and have buyers competing for it, or at least have it in every system. So if any buyer, any agent is looking for it, they find it. And then when they get there, they've got great information on the property. That's helpful.
All right. Now, let me ask you this question. How do you define a California investor?
The
fact that he laughs at that is kind of like an inside joke.
I work in the Southeast, so I'm licensed in all 9 Southeast states.
Okay.
So, we've got a growing markets. We've got a lot of great cities. You mentioned the one I'm headquartered in Atlanta, but we've got a lot of great cities that are growing, that are great places to invest in properties, including multifamily. And so, sometimes we'll get a seller who sold a property in San Diego or Los Angeles or San Francisco, and they may have sold at a really low cap, and they come here and get a much higher cap rate. And they got maybe a lot larger property, larger mortgage, more principal reduction. They're building more wealth in the long term. So, obviously we love 1031 buyers coming from California or anywhere, New York City, wherever they've sold at a 2, 3, 4, 5 cap, and then we can get them something that has a stronger cap rate for the investor and also great appreciation. We love having happy buyers.
Yeah. Yeah. So give me an idea of your background. What's your pedigree? Where'd you start in this business?
I started when I was in college at night, and I started managing apartments at 18 years old. I got my license at 19. I started focusing on multifamily only. At 22, I became a commission-only sales broker, and I sold apartments. And I've done that since I was 22. 21 years ago, I started my own firm because I wanted to have a company known for integrity and for the best disposition marketing in the country. I felt like with the way the brokers were doing it that I worked with at the big shops, that I had to create my own business. So I did that 21 years ago. Now we have 35 brokers, 9 states, and we have a multifamily division, but we have other divisions that focus on specific property types.
Yeah, because I'm looking at your website. You got a lot of development opportunities in there.
Yeah, we do really well in land all around the Southeast. We also do really well in hotel properties, in senior housing, in medical office buildings, shopping centers. So we have brokers that are very much experts in every property.
Okay. Now, let me tell you, you're in the Southeast. I mean, it's the hottest place in the country. I mean, I mean, everything, everyone's moving to the Southeast.
You're just seeing the sweat dripping off my face. You know, it's hot here.
Dude, it's 87 degrees here. I'm up here in New Hampshire, and it's
Yeah.
87 degrees. This is the second day this year that it's been 87, and
Uh-oh.
I've been waiting for it. Believe me, I can't take the cold weather anymore.
You're gonna melt. You're gonna melt. It's too hot for you guys.
No. Give me the heat. Give me the heat.
Yeah.
So no, but listen. If you look at the what's going on as far as the metrics and the the demographics of the country, I mean, the simplest way to look at it is census.gov. You guys are picking up the congressional seats down there, and up here, the Rust Belt, up here in the Northeast, the liberal bastion of the world, people are scurrying. I mean, more people are moving out of New Jersey. More people are moving out of Connecticut. They're all moving down to the Southeast. Those are our customers, the multifamily owners. Those are our customers. And it just, you're sitting on a gold mine right now, just marketing in that area.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of growth. The multifamily all over the U.S. is doing well, obviously, but in the Southeast, especially in some of where most every market in the Southeast, whether it's tertiary or a larger market, it's doing well. We're getting a lot of jobs, and so we're getting demographics is favorable. We have, like, if you look at Atlanta, we have Georgia Tech, we have Emory, we have Georgia State, we have UGA not far away. So we've got a lot of employers, and it's really fueling the multifamily market.
Yeah. So let me ask you, where are we in this cycle?
It seems like this cycle keeps extending, and the analysts keep getting surprised that, oh my God, it's still doing well. It's still, we're getting 3% plus rental rate growth. Getting occupancy that's just extremely high, and it continues. We're absorbing 300,000 units a year, and it seems like we need more. So, obviously every market and sub-market is specific, but I think as far as the overall cycle goes, especially if you look at, the Southeast where we do a lot of work, we could be in for a long haul, unless we have some tariff issues or war issues or, something that comes down the pike that we're not aware of. I think we have at least 3 or 4 years, and I don't think that even then that's going to hurt multifamily in a big way, or really commercial real estate in a big way. You think about rising construction costs, that's really put a limit on new supply in almost every sector.
Okay, so that's what's slowing it down. If they're for new supplies, are just the increasing in the cost of construction.
Yeah, and you see a lot of municipalities that frankly don't like multifamily, don't want you to build anymore there. Then you have rising land cost, and you have rising infrastructure and cost just to build these properties. So when you add it all together, there's a barrier to entry in some of these markets, and obviously I'm sure that's something you guys have talked about before. If you can buy communities where there is a barrier to entry, you can have a greater increase in your rents and values. So.
But would you vote for the guy who's out there touting that he's going to promote multifamily for all? Are you a Bernie Sanders fan? Because now he's giving away multifamily. You
mean as far as over home ownership?
No, the government's just going to take care of your cradle to grave. We don't have to worry about the market because Bernie Sanders has got it all taken care of for us.
Yeah, no, I don't think we want to be a government-controlled world here in the U.S.
No kidding. But I'll tell you, that's really interesting that you're saying that. My take on it, you're looking at it more from the supply side, and I look at it more from the demand side. I just don't think that it's sustainable that they can keep building all these new apartments and finding the customers who are there to be able to pay for a $2,000 a month one-bedroom unit. We're just going to run out of those people.
You're keying on the biggest issue, and I think is affordability.
Yeah.
As the costs rise to build these projects, the affordability is going to become the issue. And I see some young people coming out of college that are working in our shop, and my daughter just graduated from college, and she's going to have a nice salary, and it sounded nice until she looked at what her cost of living is going to be for an apartment.
It's unbelievable. I have 2 kids that live in Harlem.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what they have to pay in Harlem. It's crazy.
Yeah. But I think you got some other things about the demographics. I think the allure of owning your own home has gone away. Remember the day you and I, if we heard somebody our age was renting an apartment, we felt sorry for them.
Yeah, because
And
we
now,
could go and buy a condo for like 3%
yeah.
down. Yep.
And now we're like, you lucky dog. You don't have to cut the grass.
You're a genius. How'd you see that coming? Like, come on,
Yeah.
why couldn't I be more like you?
Yeah. And then you see all these young people that saw maybe their parents go through the horror of 2008, 2009 with their home issues. And you think about the mobility, the job market. We had a tough job market, now a tight job market. People want to be mobile. So I think there's a lot of things just in society, the way it's changing, are also helping demand. Like for me, I've got a little home in Atlanta. I've had for 20 years. I got a little home at Lake Lanier, 45 minutes north. I've had for 20 years. And my children just both graduated one's about to graduate. So now we're kind of empty national land. I would love to rent an apartment, get my wife to sell the house, and I want to rent an apartment. And I'd like it in a mixed use, or at least a city area where I could walk around.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to I don't want to deal with the yard.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The main.
My sister, married to the cardiologist in downtown Boston, she sold a house up in Amherst, New Hampshire, big moneyed area, and she now rents in the high rent district down in the Seaport area of Boston. And she and her husband stand on their balcony and they look at all the other buildings going up. And they say, like, hey, why don't we go check out that place for next year if we want to move? And she says, I am houseless, but I'm not homeless, and I will never own a house again. And that's the way she feels.
I mean, look at everybody talking about the small homes. Is that what they call them? I mean, people are talking about having
tiny houses. Tiny houses.
Yeah. They're talking about having less stuff, being more mobile. And you think about it as compared to the old condo days. The problem with the condo was, what if you had a neighbor that you didn't like or didn't want to be around, and you're stuck owning the condo? Like you just mentioned in Boston there, hey, if they want to move, they move.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, it's funny you should say that, because I own a condo. I have the office here in Nashville, and we have the house down in Duxbury, but I'm up here at the condo, and I get up at 3:00 in the morning, got to turn on the AC or something, and I heard a screaming match going on to my neighbors next door at 3:00 in the morning. They were screaming at each other. I thought it was going to be like another one of those, investigation discovery episodes. I was going to start taking down notes and writing down when I heard the gun go off. So it was bad.
I'll see you interviewed then on that investigative show. So the demographics are changing. I think there's people our age, there's people of all ages, not to mention the younger people that are a huge demographic now. So I think overall, we're going to have a much longer cycle than we ever imagined, 5 years ago.
Yeah, it is. But, at some point things do, they don't always go up. Things are going to come down, and it's going to be interesting. It's not like the last time. It's not like the last cycle. No, that is for darn sure. The numbers make a lot more sense. The fundamentals are more sound than they were last time. But I look at it from the demand side. I think that the customers just are going to dry up after a certain amount of time. So, but we'll see. Now, all right, let's talk about you've got your own little program where you actually teach brokers how to be brokers, right? So why don't you give us some tips for working with a broker? So, I'm a multifamily investor. I've purchased, millions of dollars worth of property. I'm looking to come into Atlanta. You don't know me from Adam. What do you look for? What are the tells? What do you try to get from me? And, and then also, why don't you talk a little bit about the offers that rise to the top? Like what type of elements do they have in there?
Yeah. Well, so when you come to town, what am I looking for? All that cash sticking out of your briefcase and your pockets.
Really? I can't say to you like, oh, this is my first time on the job and I don't have any money? No?
That's right. Well, I think for the first part of your question, and it's a great one, about how do you get a broker's attention to bring you those off-market deals or be competitive if it is on the market. And I think the first thing you got to do is show the broker that you're realistic, that you've studied the market, that you've studied the rents and the market, you've seen the property, potentially if you know the specific property, but just getting the broker's attention, let them know that you'll protect them on off-market opportunities if they bring it to you, that you'll sign off to do that look, I'll agree to keep a deal quiet you bring to me, and two, I'll make sure you get paid. If the seller doesn't pay it, I'll underwrite the deal to pay you. Obviously, I'm going to include it in the deal. Numbers have to work, but I'll underwrite the deal. I won't buy it unless you're taken care of. That's the way to get a broker like us to bring you a deal.
Okay,
Now,
hold on 1 second. All right, I read a book that was written probably in like 1970, and it was written by a commercial real estate broker. And I can't for the life of me remember the name of the book. It must be the Bible in your business. You must know what book I'm talking about. But the guy said, do you know what the number one responsibility is of a commercial real estate broker?
what?
To get paid. And really, the guy was flat out right out there with it. And so I thought it was just a product of the 1970s that you guys had to fight for your commissions back then because it was like the wild, wild west. I figured that things have changed so much that, hey, you're going to get your money. It's going to appear on the,
It has. I don't think it's that. I think what it is there's a lot of buyers in the marketplace. For a broker, there's a lot of buyers and there's less sellers. So to be a buyer that gets our attention, you want to be able to say to me, hey, Michael, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I've done in the past. If you bring me something off market where I'm not competing with a bunch of buyers, I'll keep it very quiet. I won't tell anybody about it. I'll make sure you get paid. If the seller won't pay, don't worry, I'll underwrite it. And if I buy it, you'll get paid. And that way, I know I can bring you a deal. That's how you stand out to a broker to bring you that kind of deal.
That's great stuff, man. That is fantastic. So that's really cool. So what about when we write the offer? Obviously, you put a financing contingency that's going to move you down the ladder. But I mean, and what's going on in your marketplace now as far as earnest money going hard on day one? Like, what are you seeing? What types of offers are you seeing?
Yeah, so I'll tell you I got a 230 unit on the market, and I got 2 offers today. And one of the offers was, they're both LOIs, letters of intent, and one of them was a fill-in-the-blank letter of intent. It looked like he just took the class on Nothing Down by Robert Allen. That's what it was when I was a kid. But late night show, right, where they're going to raise the money and try to get it under control. It was fill in the blank here. So I read it, and within 15 seconds, I know there's no experience here. So I think you got to watch your LOI form or your PSA and make sure it shows that you are experienced and know what you're doing.
Okay.
And then then we do buyer interviews, right? So I call the buyer, both buyers, and ask them the questions. Hey, have you seen the property? Have you walked it? How are you going to fund it? What's the decision process there? If you're going to fund it, who you're going to fund it with? And have you talked to them? Have they seen your tax returns, credit report? Have they seen the numbers on the property? How far along are you? Also, do you have some flexibility on your timing or your price? Because I want to, in my world, it's not number one thing for me as a broker is not getting paid. It's for taking care of clients and being honest and straightforward with the customer so they know where they stand all the time. So I'm going to do a buyer interview and ask those kinds of questions. And if I have multiple offers, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to line them all up. So this property is 8.5 million. And so if I've got 3 offers at 7 million and I've got 1 at 8, I'm going to base on who gets the response based on my buyer interview. Who do I feel has the best chance of closing? And then if the seller wants to counter at 8, I'm not counting the 1 at 8 that I thought had a lesser chance of closing. I'm counting the ones I thought would close. And that's who's going to get the first opportunity to buy the property.
Okay. Wow, that's good stuff. Now, what about, let's get back to my original question about earnest money hard and what have you.
Yeah, I'm not, as a broker, I'm not fond of that. I am seeing that. We have brokers that sell really large properties here, and we have some that sell some smaller ones. And we have some smaller ones that are in town, like midtown type markets in Atlanta that are very expensive, small deals. And we're seeing a lot of competition for those. And we are seeing some people come up and say, hey, I'll put up some non-refundable money up front so that the seller really knows I'm serious and that I'm confident I can close. But as far as requiring it when I represent a seller, I'd rather have my assurity that this buyer is going to close based on my review of the buyer, on my interview with them, in my discussions, their track record, because people will walk away from cash. I mean, I've seen people walk away from large sums of earnest money, and I see it probably at least once a month, and it bewilders me. But to some of these guys and some of these funds and companies, it's not a lot of money. And so as representing a seller, that doesn't really turn me on. But as a buyer, if you're using it to get attention, you know enough about the property, you're confident you're going to close, and it helps you get the attention, great. I'd tell you another way to get their attention is so many people are using LOIs, right?
Yeah.
Letter of intent, and they're emailing them over. What about writing it on a full purchase and sale agreement with 4 blue ink copies, signed ink, a copy of earnest money check, and FedExing it to them?
I've never heard that happening. But that's what you see? That would work?
It absolutely works. I guarantee you. I get multiple offers on this deal, and they're all LOIs. If you send me a letter, for example, in the mail, I won't get it. But if you send me a FedEx, somebody walks in here grinning, and Michael, you got a FedEx. Look at this. And it gets my immediate attention.
I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me that got excited when I got a FedEx.
Yeah, FedEx is usually good news, right?
Yeah.
I had an attorney write a nice nasty gram to somebody one time, and when I found out he sent it FedEx, I was furious. I said, "Man, that's certified mail you're supposed to send."
Yeah,
FedEx is good news, right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So I think that's another great way. Obviously, large earnest money checks, if you know the contract and the escrow agent safe, are a great way. But I've had really good success with skipping the LOI process. And let me tell you this: if you're the buyer, if the seller or the agent will let you avoid the LOI then PSA process, then wonderful. Because what can happen to you between an accepted letter of intent and a purchase and sale agreement as a buyer? You can get well, you can say anything. You can get screwed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The seller could shop your deal, do whatever. So if you can get the seller to go ahead and sign a contract, if you're a buyer, that's what I do. So when I work with buyers, I'm real familiar with contracts. I'm real comfortable with them. And if I'm on the buyer side, for sure, I'm going to try to use a purchase and sale agreement when I make my offer. If my buyer will let me do it, and if the listing agent or the seller will let me do it that way.
That's interesting because, typically, as I advise my clients, is that, the brokers always want to go right to contract. The brokers always want to go right to contract. But, and sometimes these are new investors and they're not that sophisticated. And so going right to contract. So, but what I'm saying is actually confirming everything that you're just saying, is that if you want to, make your offer rise to the top, that you're ready to rock and roll on this thing, then go straight to contract and skip the whole LOI process.
Yes, because a smart seller is going to be like I mentioned it when I'm looking at offers for a seller. He's going to know who's most serious, who has the best chance of closing, who's going to not waste my time. And if you've got a reasonably written purchase and sale agreement that's not completely one-sided, obviously, and you present your offer on that, and it's clean, and it's not so short that you look inexperienced, but it's not so many dang pages that the seller goes, "Whoa, I don't want to read that."
Yeah,
But you could also put you can put the highlights of it in a cover letter, and put a cover letter. Hey, we've closed this many properties in the last 4 or 5 years. We've only had 1 deal out of 10 that we put under contract and didn't close. Find the truth, right? And here's the outline of our offer. Here's the price. Here's the due diligence period. Here's the closing date. We look forward to working with you. So you've got the highlights of it, and then you have the PSA attached.
Nice. Very nice.
In fact, do that on your next one. Let me know how it works.
Yeah, I like it. That sounds really good. I think I'm going to do this. That sounds great.
You have a legal background, though, right?
Who doesn't in this business, Michael?
You're a lawyer, right?
Yeah, of course I am.
Right, so you got to be tempted not to write a million-page contract.
How do you think I get paid? I get paid by the word. Come on. Of course I'm going to write a big. My standard purchase and sale, I think it's like 20 pages, something like that. 20.
That's reasonable.
It's got the attachments afterwards, but
yeah,
we cover everything. No questions asked. Everything's going to be right there. And it is a little, skewered towards the buyer side. Hey, I've been in this business long enough to know how I get screwed. I mean, because it's happened to me. So great stuff, really good stuff, Michael. This is cool. Now let me ask you about Atlanta. Let's say that you're new to a marketplace. How would you go about evaluating a market?
I would go look at every sales comp first I could find.
Okay.
Look at the price per unit, price per square foot, look at the cap rates, compare the properties. And so you can understand kind of what values are on the types of price ranges and class of properties that you're looking at, however you need to get those. And then the next thing I would do is then I would look at the performance of the properties that you're looking at. Look at the rents per square foot, look at the occupancy, look at the trends on rates and occupancy in the various submarkets. And then once you key in on a property that you're interested in, I'd go look at all the subject property, obviously, and I'd go look at all the properties you feel compete with it so that you can get a real good feel for the market.
Now, where do you get valid, legitimate cap rates?
I think the best place to really get them from is from the brokers doing them, because like for instance, we look at appraisals, and if a seller says, "Hey, Michael, I want to sell my apartment complex. Should I get an appraisal?" I'll say, "No, you shouldn't." That's one person's opinion, and that appraiser might work various markets. They might work various property types. If you're dealing with an apartment broker who works in Atlanta and he only sells apartments only in Atlanta, believe me, we're tracking the cap rates on every property.
Yeah.
And we may have seen the properties, we may have sold the properties, we know if there was a lot of CapEx put in before, we know if it was marketed terribly, we know if it was marketed well, we know if it was arm's length or not. So I would ask the agent that you're building a relationship with to supply you some sales information, cap rates, so you can be familiar, because a broker that really wants you to be ready to go. If you think cap rates are 7 in our market and they're really 6, then we're both wasting time, and I need to educate you on the market.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So if we took a look at Atlanta now, one of my best students, he owns quite a bit of property down there in Atlanta, in Georgia, and he has a rule, and I'm going to say the rule, and I may say it wrong, but geographically you will correct me. He's not interested in anything north of 20 or south of 20. That's his rule in Atlanta. What's the correct rule?
I wouldn't have a rule like that at all.
Okay.
I just wouldn't, because I'm going to close some of the stuff that doesn't make any noises for us. I wouldn't have any rule like that. I think you have a goal of your returns. You have certain type of properties and things you like, and I would be open to any area, especially with a city like Atlanta that's changing very quickly. The rule he probably had was nothing south of I-20. That is a very old rule for Atlanta. That was a rule that maybe you would have 30 years ago, not now.
Okay, because it's something like, where's the airport? Is that south of
Atlanta? Right,
okay.
It's south of I-20.
Yeah, okay, so that was kind of like, stay away from the airport.
No, there's some areas down there, College Park, East Point, doing extremely well there. They were rougher areas, but they're close in. They're moving up quick. Even though the prices have gone up a good bit, in the last 2 or 3 years, they'll probably go up more. They're close in. They're near the airport. They're near Atlanta. They're near downtown Atlanta, and so I would not have that kind of rule. Any market, but certainly not Atlanta. Atlanta's growing too fast.
Yeah.
You miss out on opportunities because you have a rule.
All right. Now, what about, give me an idea. Give me the name of a secondary and a tertiary market outside of Atlanta, and tell me how those markets are doing, and what the long-term view you have for those markets.
Atlanta's interesting because we don't have any natural barriers. So our city has really grown in every direction. So we have a lot of towns that are around Atlanta that are fairly close to Atlanta, like Alpharetta, which is north of Atlanta, where a big development called Avalon is. That's 30 miles outside of Atlanta, but has same rents that you get in Midtown and Buckhead, Atlanta. Amazing. So you have places like Doraville and East Atlanta, and you have places like West Midtown. You have places like, did I say Decatur? You have places like Woodstock, Georgia. There's a tremendous amount of small submarkets, if you will, around Metro Atlanta. They're extremely strong. And another thing we're seeing is when you look at the larger, nicer institutional type of properties, a lot of those buyers are coming to cities in the Southeast because they don't want to buy at a 2 or 3% cap rate.
Right.
They want to get a 5 cap rate for a beautiful Class A property in a market that's also going to appreciate. So you've got cities around the Southeast, like I say, we're about to bring one around 70 million that's in one of those types of cities where it's going to be a 5 cap. It'll be the best deal in probably the country for a property like that, but it's a tertiary market. So it's going to sell at a higher cap rate, so you get a better return. A lot of investors are looking that maybe escaping some of those top 5, 7 cities and looking at some of the smaller ones.
So you're seeing some real institutional grade money moving into the tertiary markets now?
They are, because they need they're searching for the return, and they're seeing that they're safe, especially when it comes to multifamily. I mean, some of these markets, these properties are in, they don't have a lot of competition, and so they're searching for the return. They're looking for a return.
Yeah, because I would never have expected to see like the insurance companies and the pension funds moving into the I'm trying to think of a name of a tertiary market in Georgia. Yeah, that's amazing. That's what's going on. There's so much money out there right now, and it's looking for a home. Yeah, and all right. Now let's get to the real nitty gritty here, Michael.
Real stuff now.
Yeah, this is what we're gonna call the no bull session, right?
No
bull. I guess it came out the wrong way. I guess you saw that one coming. What are the tricks that brokers play? I think I'm going to leave it at that question. What's
brokers play?
To make the properties look better, to try to what do you fool around with the NOI? Like, come on.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not saying no, because I got to tell you, I really like some of the things you've said about how you run your business and why you get out of the big stuff. Let's talk about the other guys. Like, what things should new investors look for, when they're out there looking at a property?
Yeah, well, like I just had a broker come from, I won't say what state. He came from the Northeast, and he worked at one of the big shops, and he's just joined us. And he asked the question, "Hey, Michael, what about when we were looking at expenses for the last 2 years, and somebody was overpaying market for landscaping because their brother-in-law owns a landscaping company and they were overpaying for it. And should we make a footnote on the history, or should we go back and normalize it? Because my last broker said, no, let's just go ahead back and change the actuals. There's no way should you be changing the actuals. No way. That's the actuals. You need, now if you want to make a footnote that, hey, maybe he was overpaying for that, that's what you should do. I mean, I would watch out for that. I would watch out for, I won't name any names, but online auction sites that maybe the bidders aren't real, things like that.
Oh, really? You think some of those they'll put up like straw man bidders?
Do you think?
Boy, did I just look really naive right then?
You think? I'm saying they do.
That's outrageous.
I'm not saying they do. I just, and I won't say brokers change actuals, but I mean, you asked me to pick some things to watch out for.
No, this is great stuff. This is really
couple.
Good.
Yeah.
A
couple. I can tell you some mistakes they make too.
Oh, hey, let's hear it.
Don't forget,
we're going to be coming up to our new session. The what about this session? So get ready, Dave. Hold back a little bit.
All right. Well, I think one of the mistakes agents make is, let's say you got a apartment complex you're selling, and it's $5 million or less. And you've asked the broker to maximize the value on the sale price. Well, as we talked about before, value of everything is impacted by the law of supply and demand. Mm-hmm. But on a smaller property like that, I think they ought to use a really great marketing process in all the systems, all the websites. I think they ought to cooperate with all agents, day one on the marketing assignments, and have a co-op commission that they can work with buyers brokers. Because then you might get if you're a seller, you might get that outlier buyer, that black swan, that guy just sold a 2 cap in San Francisco and is doing a 1031. He's working with an agent. If you don't pay that agent, he doesn't know how to show that property to his buyer and get paid by the buyer. You don't get him, or if you hide it and don't share. So I think if you're selling a smaller multifamily property, you want to make sure that as a broker or a seller, that it's being marketed in a way that is most advantageous. There was a book written by a really good author. He interviewed some brokers, and one of the brokers admitted in the interview that he it's actually she, trickle markets properties. It's a small little list of buyers. That doesn't work. Goes to a little bit larger list of buyers, a little bit larger list of buyers, maybe right before listing expires, talk to some agents at their office and maybe tell them about it. And maybe the last day of listing, maybe work with an agent or another company. That's what I call trickle marketing. And if you're the seller, that hurts you. I mean, you want everyone knowing about it in the beginning. You want multiple bidders competing for your property. So I think if you're selling a property, you want to think about using a broker, but also just ask them how they do it and not just go, oh, he's got a name, he's got a reputation. I was an investor in a apartment complex. The GP wanted to sell it. He said, hey, maybe there's a conflict if I use you. And I'm like, no, there wouldn't be, but he didn't. Anyway, he used an apartment broker, well known. He said he was going to market it well, co-op, do all this. He put it on the market, and we got several offers. He said the market spoke, and you got to take 15% less than list price. And my GP said, I don't know, that seems a little like it should sell for more than that. Didn't take the highest offer that the broker said made the market. And then I said, ask him what he actually did. So he said he did. He called the broker, said, look, let me ask you, what did you actually do to market the property? He said, I sent it to my email list.
Yeah.
So he didn't put it in any systems. He didn't cooperate. He wouldn't pay any agent's commission. And this is what happened. 2 weeks later, an agent who's residential had a 1031 buyer, and she found out somehow the property was available and had called them and tried to make an offer and get a commission. He wouldn't cooperate with her at all, and he wouldn't pay her a commission. I got near full price for the property from her. We had to pay her separately. So I think you got to look at what your broker's actually doing, what he's saying he's going to do and what he's actually doing. I was competing on a large complex one time, not a couple of years ago, and I told the owner about this, and he said, well, my broker at such and such says they cooperate and they share commissions. I said, do you ever shop your leasing folks at your apartments? He said, yeah, we do that. I said, isn't this a bigger thing? Don't you think you should shop him, see how he's doing? Oh yeah, Michael, that's a good idea. How do I do that?
That's a good idea.
And
That is a good idea.
well, have your one of your assistants over here use their cell phone, call the agent up, tell him you found out he had it listed, because he had it listed with this company right now, had a listing with them. And I said, tell me this, she's got a 1031 buyer out of California. They've got 2 weeks to identify. They've got $5 million cash, and see what cooperation she gets. He said, Michael, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So you know what happened, right? She called 3 times, said exactly that. The guy never returned her call.
Wow.
So I said, see, he's telling you he's cooperating, and he's not. There's a difference. There's cooperating and there's sharing fees. So maybe they just cooperate and have the agent get paid by the buyer if the agent that's working with the buyer has the experience level to do that. And there's cooperating and compensating agents. If they're cooperating and compensating, you got the best of everything. Here's a final tip on that. What I would do if you hire a broker and say you're trying to squeeze him down on the fee to get him as low as you can to market your property, and he doesn't have enough fee to share with agents, tell him to cooperate with other agents, market to other agents day one, and do this. If the agent asks you how much fee they want, you tell them to write in whatever they want, and the seller will respond accordingly. Maybe you get that outlier just sold his business for $80 million. Maybe you get that buyer just sold a 2-cap in San Francisco. Yeah. You care about what you net, right? And you want buyers competing. So you don't care if they ask you to pay closing costs, pay CapEx, pay their agent. You're going to look at who can close and who nets you the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if a broker has the savvy to have a seller client that he can explain the benefits of that to, that's what brokers should do. And as a seller, again, if you beat them down, you don't think they're really going to offer commissions to agents, tell them to offer whatever they want. And the buyer and the agent knows you're going to, let's say you're getting another 3% to that buyer's agent, you're going to count 3% higher. Everybody knows it. It's fine. They still might be the highest and best buyer.
Yeah. Wow. That's great stuff. And not that the only thing I got out of everything you just said was the fact that you call California investors black swans. But that was great stuff. Hey, when we come back from the break, we're going to play my game as we go out. And I just want to let you know, Michael, No one has beat me at this game yet, all right? And so you will see if you're going to be the first, all
Right.
right? So we'll be right back. Okay, we are back with Michael Bull Realty down in Atlanta, Georgia. And so, Michael, this is how this game is played. You're going to tell me a story, and then I'm going to try to top that story with, oh, yeah, how about this? So give me a story in your past, in your present, something going on that would just rock my socks off, that you can't believe happened in this business. Good, the bad, or the ugly. Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. So I was showing some apartments for rent to a couple. As I walk in the front door and shut the front door to the apartment I'm showing them, there's a very tall man breaking in the window in the kitchen, busting through the blinds. He comes through the kitchen. They scurry to the bedroom, and he comes through the kitchen. He's so tall he has to duck under the kitchen door. And I yell at him, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "I'm looking for the manager." And I said, "Well, I'm the manager, and you have to get out of here." And trying to be as brave as I could. And his eyes were like this thick. He was scary looking. He was messed up. He ducks, goes out of the door. He ducks and goes out of the front door. I lock them both. And I come back in, and I asked the couple, I said, "When would you like to move in?"
Oh, that's good. That's good.
They said, "We're good. We're good. We're good."
Holy crap. Oh, that's good. I don't think I got one I can kind of tell you, but I like that one. Now you might have won the game, but here we go. So on the same vein, I own this 116 unit apartment complex down in Fort Worth, Texas. It sucks. It was a bad purchase. We never should have purchased. My partner and I are down there all week long trying to get this thing. We move into a vacant unit, and we're sitting there. We got the table. We're going over reports, going everything, and we hear what sounds like construction going on in the unit next door. And so we're like, oh, good. Our workers are working. That's great. Yeah, we just kept our head down and kept on working. Finally, about an hour later, we come out of the door and we realized that it wasn't the construction workers. It was kids breaking into the apartment by knocking down the front door. And we were right next to them the whole time. And we didn't, nothing. They got, and of course, the unit was vacant, so there was nothing in there anyway, because as most of those units in that property were. So yeah, all right. So all right, you want to try me again? You gonna like do the oh yeah? Well, what about this? Because that was pretty good. I like this. Go ahead, give me another one.
I got a quick one. So I had this multifamily property under contract. I'm a broker. I'm the only agent involved in the deal. It was a nice fee. We had the property condition assessment going up. And I'm meeting him at the property on Saturday morning. He gets there early. He calls me. He says, "Michael," he says, "I don't think this property is going to pass inspection." And I said, "What do you mean?" And, we haven't done the inspection yet. He said, "Michael, all there's left is smoke. It burned to the ground last night."
Oh, man, that's great. Oh, no. Oh, man. Well, I got to tell you, but let's talk about that from a legal perspective. Obviously, they were doing the PCA, that there's the deal's under contract. You got the casualty and the condemnation section of the purchase and sale agreement that talks about what happens exactly in this situation. Now, I remember one time when I was so new in the business, I asked a multifamily owner, I said, "Have you ever had an insurance claim?" And the guy looks at me like, "I own apartments." And I go, "Oh, sorry." And then subsequently, all the years that I've owned apartments, I love it when they call me up. "Hey, we had a fire." "Oh, we did we? Yeah. Okay, so let's get our insurance adjuster over there right away." What happened in this case, as far as the purchase and sale contract, as it relates to casualty?
My commission went up in smoke.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's exactly.
My side.
No, that's right. You didn't care what happened after that point.
In this situation, there was so little left. It had to be totally rebuilt, and the buyer in that case just decided to go away.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and in fact, the seller was so distraught when everything was finally done. He called me and said, "Michael, just sell the site. And by the way, I want to sell the site. I want you to sell the site in 3 days."
Wow.
So I called all the buyers that had cash and said, all right, we're going to close this in 3 days. Give me your best bid. And we sold in 3 days.
Wow.
Uh,
Oh, wow. That's wild.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Geez. All right. Those are great stories. And let me wrap it up with one that I did. When I was down in Texas, I was walking this particular property. And I had walked a lot of property in Texas. And I was on this one, and I looked around, and I said to the broker, I said, geez, has this property been sold before or for sale before? Because I'm getting this real deja vu feeling going on. And they said, oh, no, you might be thinking of the sister property across the street. It looks just like it. And I look across the street, and I said, yeah, I was there. I was looking at buying that property. And they said, oh, did you hear what happened on that property? I said, no, what happened? They got it under contract. And then some mother with 5 kids living in one of the units heard that if you lose your household items in a fire, Walmart will give you a $1,500 gift card to come and replace it. So she thought, hey, I'm going to make $1,500. She sets the place on fire, burns the entire building down to the ground, and Department of Social Services takes her kids away. She goes to jail. It was ugly. But the property was under contract, and 14 buildings, now they have 13, and the guy ended up getting a brand new building from the insurance funds, and it worked out beautifully for everybody except for the woman that burnt the place down. So
wow.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a quick 60-second one that I thought was extremely funny. This guy calls me to sell this little building. I think it was around 18 units. And then I told him what we would get for it. And he said, okay, that's fine. He said, I paid more than that 6 months ago. And I said, well, tell me, why are you selling it? And tell me what happened. He said, well, he's a doctor. And he said, I'm a doctor, and I went to a buddy's, was renting one of the apartments, and I went to play the poker game there. And we were drinking, playing poker. I got in a big argument with the guy across the hall, one of the tenants. And we started yelling at each other. And he said, I told him, I said, I'll buy this building and evict you. He did. The doctor bought the building, evicted the tenant, and then called me to sell it.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
You're kidding. Okay.
I think he lost about $160,000.
Oh, my gosh.
But
Wow.
he did what he said.
He did.
He
I
evicted.
can ask one question, though. Was this doctor a dentist by chance?
No.
Okay, I just had to ask that. That's an inside joke, but all right, just checking. Michael, I could sit here and talk to you all day playing this game. I'm so glad I invented this game, because you cannot imagine some of the stories that I've heard on my podcast.
That is awesome. It's fun to hear that kind of stuff.
Fun. It's a lot of well, thank you so much for being on my show. It's great to have you. His name is Michael Bull. He's with Bull Realty out of Atlanta, Georgia. Guys, look him up. He's just given us some great information. I think I'm going to go back and change some of my templates just to make sure that my cream rises to the top. So, Michael, thank you so much. It's great to have you, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Charles. Keep it up, buddy.
Thanks, Ben. Talk to you.